It's time for an old-fashioned gentleman's duel. A skirmish, a kerfluffle, some fisticuffs, another old-timey word that people associate with fighting in a classic gentleman. The well-dressed and well-spoken gentleman is a type of character we occasionally see in fighting games, which will be the topic of this video, suggested by viewer XX Edgy Outsider XX. The definition of gentleman varies depending on who you ask, including the dictionary, so I'm going to base these gentlemanly fighters on standard cliches in fiction. How courteous or formal they are, both on and off the battlefield, the spiffy way they dress, which can vary based on their mission and time period, and how classy they are, which generally goes with wealthier characters, but money does not buy happiness, so these characters' bank accounts will not always come into play. Each character does not need to have all of those aspects, but the more they have, the better their chance for a higher ranking. So let's keep it classy as I go over the top 10 gentlemen in fighting games. Number 10. Dimitri Maximov from Darkstalkers. I've spoken about Dimitri 3 other times, but those entries generally dealt with his vampire traits, and last I checked, trying to suck the blood of your opponent lacks any sort of poise and posture. However, as discussed, he's not just a run-of-the-mill vampire, he's based on Dracula, the classiest vampire ever. He's always well dressed, like he's ready for a gala. His standard outfit is a Transylvanian suit, and his favorite drink is what I'm assuming is an expensive red wine, or just some fancy blood. A-type, no doubt. Wait, A+ type. While his anti-hero, pseudo-villain status keeps him from getting points for being chivalrous, I can at least give him credit that he's polite during his Midnight Bliss super move. He starts by bowing to the opponent and then blows a kiss after the attack, which is certainly respectful. I might have to deduct points since he has to forcefully turn his opponent into a woman in order to show off his etiquette, but if he can't show his manners in any other way, we should just be happy that he uses them at all. Number 9. Falco from Groove on Fight. Don't let the eye patch fool you, he's actually a kindly old man who just loves gambling. He's dressed dandy and has his gentlemanly cane, which assists him when he fights, fulfilling the needs of being posh and painful. His moveset is more based around gambling than being a gentleman, but it gets creative. He has a slot machine move and throws playing cards. Something just seems classy about throwing a deck of cards. Finally, when he wins a round, he'll tip his hat to the opponent, showing some respect. I'm sure he'd also tip his hat when he's defeated if he wasn't kind of incapacitated when that happens. Number 8. Crackerjack from Street Fighter EX. No, he's not named after a popcorn-based snack. His name seems to be based on the old-timey word crackerjack, which means excellent or splendid, and he dresses like he's a 1920s gangster, so he has his theme down. The main reason he's here is his list of interests includes being a gentleman. Well, if he's happy being one, I'm not gonna question him, especially since he doesn't show it too much on the field with his pure brawler and baseball theme. That being said, he keeps it classy with his formal suit and hat. He even wears this when fulfilling his duties as a bodyguard for fellow roster member Blair Dame, who, whoa! She needs a bodyguard? She's been on the Rocky Raw Eggs diet between Street Fighter EX and Street Fighter V, hasn't she? Number 7. Batman from Injustice. 2 words for you. Bruce Wayne. Aw crap, did I just unearth the world's best kept secret? Anyway, look at any somewhat serious iteration of Batman and you can see when not fighting crime, Bruce Wayne is quite the romantic gentleman, and sometimes when he still is in the Batman persona. He's a playboy billionaire businessman who has to be kind and courteous to maintain those titles. Have you seen him negotiate a business deal or impress the ladies? So much class and charm. He always has style when not putting on the batsuit. However, if he's such a gentleman, why is he this low on the list? Well, you don't see too much of that in Injustice, but come on, it's Batman. When you have a chance to talk about him, you don't squander that opportunity. Since the world's kind of in danger all the time in the Injustice world, whether you're looking at Dictator Superman or Brainiac being the main antagonist, Batman doesn't exactly have time to talk out problems. However, he was showing off a bit at the beginning of Injustice 2's story mode. His moveset does not have much in the courteous gentleman department, unless you consider him generous for giving his batarangs to the opponent, although I wonder why he always aims for the face when giving them. Some gentleman. Number 6. Ukyo Tachibana from Samurai Shodown. Since we're in a feudal setting for this one, we can't hold our modern day standards to his attire. Ukyo is a gentleman in the romantic sense. He's a ladies' man that the women want, but he's willing to ignore a shallow relationship to stay loyal to one person, who he's not even dating, but technicalities. While opponents might find his motives vague or unknown since he's a stoic man with a fierce and swift sword, his backstory shows he's fighting the final boss in order to obtain the perfect flower for this woman he's in love with. His main drive for defeating evil is simply to find the best present. The lengths to which this man goes to be what some would consider chivalrous is astounding and deserves acknowledgement, all for a flower. Some endings he gets the girl, sometimes he doesn't, I'm not sure what their fate is, but if he lived in modern times, he'd really benefit from the existence of a florist. Number 5. Iron Tiger from BlazBlue. While he doesn't dress the part, Iron Tiger enjoys the finer things in life, like calmly reading mystery novels or building model ships in bottles. Rachel Alucard may be the high-class citizen of the BlazBlue roster, while Tiger looks like a ruffian, but the man with the brutish metal arms is actually a lot nicer and more courteous than his fellow fighter. Tiger does not prefer to fight unless truly necessary. He's fine with patiently talking out problems. However, since fighting games would lose their fun if they were simply conversation simulators, violence is usually the best form of negotiation. That being said, his battle dialogue with certain characters is quite polite and gentlemanly, such as with Makoto where he is formal in fighting her man to squirrel, or Arakune where he respectfully understands his tragic backstory and does not just discount him as a monster. One of Lychee's win quotes against Tiger says, "It's been a while, you're such a gentleman as always," giving us some concrete evidence that at least someone else in the BlazBlue universe agrees with me. All in all, don't judge Tiger by his appearance since he's willing to have a civil conversation with you before he bashes your face in with magnets. Number 4. Arthur from Marvel vs. Capcom 3. A big gentleman trait is being chivalrous. Knights are known for their code of chivalry, and Arthur is clearly a knight. He has the most cliché knight personality you could find, but since he's the only one of his kind in this fighting game, he's actually unique. He's very honorable in his pre- and post-battle dialogue.
Ha 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 ha! What good for?
He chastises the evil characters and makes it clear he's not fighting for the sake of violence. The only reason is because this battle is between him and rescuing the fair maiden he's trying to reach in the Ghouls and Goblins series. He has an etiquette to everything he says, even if it's just his generic battle cry as he fires arrows. Maybe it's his tone or the occasional ye olde English terminology. My favorite character interaction he has is with Chris, where he says, "You too are looking for someone. Let's be quick," since it shows he understands the situation of his fellow fighter. It also opens up the question, is Marvel vs. Capcom 3 taking place in the middle of all of the storylines of these characters' games? Was Arthur just running along Ghouls and Goblins land and all of a sudden Chris Redfield was there because he got lost on his way to rescue Jill?
Out of luck.
I guess that's why the dialogue in this game is good for fun but not good for figuring out story elements. Number 3. Sebastian from Tekken. Being a butler for Lily's wealthy family, he is top-notch at his profession. Besides making sure Lily stays safe and driving her around, he occasionally gets into fights if need be. His moveset copies Lily's moveset with some minor differences. Lily's moves are very graceful, so Sebastian has prim and proper kicks and backhands. For the limited times we see his personality, he's polite and formal, so I'll have to assume he's like that 24/7. While his posh moveset does fit a more upper-class aesthetic, I would have liked to see a more butler-oriented moveset, like opening the door in his opponent's face or pouring hot tea on his foe's head. You can basically import all of my ideas I stated in another video for Alfred Pennyworth's moveset if he was ever put in Injustice for my upgraded Sebastian attacks. Number 2. Slayer from Guilty Gear, another gentleman vampire. Who would have guessed those types of characters go hand in hand? Slayer is a gentleman in all aspects of the traditional definition. He's a nobleman who enjoys the finer things in life, including writing poetry, haikus specifically. He's extremely polite and does not want to use fighting as a means to solve a problem unless he has to. However, if he really wanted to, it's likely he could win any fight since he only uses a fraction of his strength to give his opponent a chance in a fight. As discussed in my Vampires in Fighting Games list, he has a distaste for blood, since he finds sucking blood to be so savage and archaic, which shows he's a gentleman first and a vampire second. With his wife Sharon being immortal, this allows him to perform those blood-sucking actions without repercussions to his wife in private, so he can maintain his gentlemanly status to the public. Even his moves have this postured feel to them, nice clean hits and all while in his formal wear. However, a lot of his moves have slow startup, but thus is the life of a man who chooses to fight in restrictive suit pants. Here are a few honorable mentions. Eagle from Street Fighter. We don't know too much about him, but he was the original dandy dude of Street Fighter, so he deserves some recognition. His bio even states he hates ungentlemanly things. Raphael from Soul Calibur, specifically Soul Calibur 2, since after that he went all evil vampire and we don't need another vampire on this list. Original Raphael was spiffy and pulled off the whole "shall we dance" intro line before a fight. Otamo from Skullgirls, almost. When the fans could vote on the next two characters that would appear in the game, Otamo was an option, being a formal robot butler controlled by an unrefined creature. He lost the vote big time, being relegated to background character duty, but will always have his projected classy robot moveset to speculate with. And finally, Iron Man in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Since whenever he wins against a female character, he'll say a nice candlelight dinner would have been better, so chivalrous? Let's just go to the top pick. Number 1. I wrote "It's Dudley" on the screen since the choice was probably obvious to any fighting game fan. Dudley from Street Fighter. Do I need to explain what makes Dudley the perfect fighting game gentleman? His refined manner of boxing is unmatched by any fighting game boxer. He has a disdain for dirty boxing tactics, fueling his rivalry with boxer Balrog. His 3 catchphrases are "gutter trash," "keep it classy," and "let's fight like gentlemen."
Let's fight like gentlemen.
I cannot decide which catchphrase defines him the best. His taunt involves him throwing a rose with his back facing the opponent, which I went more in depth about in a different video, so to summarize, it's both a gift and a weapon. And need I explain his gentlemanly appearance? He's ready for a fancy dinner party at all times, and can upgrade to include even more parts of his suit for his outfit. For casual days, he has a costume that is most suitable for a multi-$1,000 yacht. He does not let the boxing gloves that he never removes get in the way of his classiness, as he will accurately curl his mustache and hold his teacup immaculately when it's time for a drink.
Down for the count.
Dudley's gentleman persona is allegedly inspired by real-life boxer Chris Eubank, who would embrace his classy aesthetic by wearing a top hat and monocle outside the ring. However, Dudley took it a step further and showed us how to be a gentleman all day, every day. So keeping it the classiest of all fighting game characters is Dudley from Street Fighter. So, what did you think of these choices? Agree? Disagree? Are there any dandy fighting game gentlemen I left off this list? Let me know in the comments. Stay tuned for more videos on different types of fighting game characters, since there are a lot more I want to cover, some even requested by viewers. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.